Hi everyone, I'm Xavier for XM Studio, and today we're talking about compression. Just FYI, I've made a video a long time ago about just how to encode and what format to choose, but this video is shitty. So I'm doing it over again, but I realized that you can't really just say people use this format and they might be actually doing something wrong if they don't understand what they're doing, and it's always about understanding what you're doing. So first of all, talk about compression, next week about formats, and finally I'll using this two notion to tell you how to encode properly. Well, first of all, what is numerical video? Well, you have a sensor that is basically like a chessboard, a lot of small pits that will collect electricity depending on how much light comes. In the end, you have to encode all this, because basically if every single pixel is encoded on, let's say, 10 bits or 8 bits, if you have 4K videos, that would mean 2 gigabytes per second. And right now, there is absolutely no support that can handle such a debit, or perhaps ProRes RED system. Right now, what you would find is a format that would go from, for the very shitty ones on your phone, perhaps 10 or 20 megabytes per second, to on the more advanced stuff, like for instance the OSA camera, almost 900 megabytes per second. That's really super high. But you understand that if you want to go even higher in 4K, you know, 5K is coming, the new RED is 8K, you need compression. That makes perfect sense. So there is, first of all, two types of compression. The lossless compression, so it's just a way to rewrite the information without any losses, but write it in a more efficient way. Or the lossy compression, that means you lose actual information. Now, how compression works? Well, if you want to avoid losing information, you'd have to find some redundancy, and that's the whole point of compression. What can you find in a still frame? You'd have spatial redundancy, meaning perhaps this area of pixel would be the same as this area here. Actually, not quite true, because the lighting is different, but perhaps this area here is the same as here, and so on. And your camera actually will try to find out what is the same and how to gather this information. To do that, they apply tricky math formula, because obviously you cannot just say this is the same as here and you don't know how to rebuild your image. So there is a lot of transformation, aka Fourier transformation, cosinus transformation, and so on. Way too complicated. But remember, this is in a still frame. Then you have temporal redundancy. Perhaps in this frame, this area is not that different than the area in the next frame. Well, that makes sense. This part here is not moving. So probably my camera right now is making a huge effort on, telling this is still, and don't change anything about it. That will actually save you place. Then there are some more tricky stuff that are actually taking advantage of our shitty vision, aka it's the compression itself that makes decision on what we could actually save in details that the human eye won't see. Most probably some very tiny details over 1, 2, 3 pixels that would probably be not even noticeable for the human eye. Then you have the statistic redundancy, that is in the code itself. You have coded your video, but perhaps in the code there are again patterns of 111111000 that you could actually compress. So that is like, only with these 4 methods you can actually compress pretty much. And we can achieve sometimes 70% of compression, meaning that your final file will be 70% lighter. So I think I'll stop right here right now about formats, compression, and next week I'll talk about formats and keep going on that. I hope this was not too technical. If there's some stuff you haven't understood, don't hesitate to ask me a question in the comments. And as usual, share, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for next episode next week about formats, and the one after about